Hello everybody, Paul Richards here in vlog number 37. Today is October 10th, 2016, and it's camera shootout week. That means we are testing all of the top pan tilt zoom cameras in the industry, and today we are focusing on the SONY SRG-DH. The SONY SRG-120DH, as you can see right here. There it is. Let's take that full screen, get a good look at these two cameras that we're comparing today. The SONY SRG-DH and the PTZOptics 12X USB or SDI. Both models are comparable. In fact, let's take a look at the back of these units, which is going to give us a really good look at the connections here. Here you can see the SONY SRG-120DH, which is a 12x optical zoom camera with HDMI, RS-232 in and out for Sony Visca, and then a LAN port, which is for control, not streaming. And I'm going to show a B&H photo website proving that, because it kind of seems funny, but it's true. Here's our line in for audio, our analog port, our streaming port. Our Ethernet port is for streaming these cameras, so you can live stream them right off the camera, control them from the camera, view them from the camera. HDMI, HDSDI, USB 2, that's just for firmware updates, and then RS-232 in and out. So those are the cameras, just so we kind of see them, we know what we're talking about here. Let's first start by looking at the remote controls, because this is usually how people control them. Now, we are going to be taking these cameras out to a sporting event and plugging in a joystick controller, so that'll be good. But as you can see, there's some big differences here. The Sony can only control 3 cameras. The PTZOptics can control 4. The Sony only really has 3 preset buttons there. Or sorry, 6 preset buttons. As you can see, you can do 9 on the PTZOptics. Pan tilt zoom, very similar, slow and fast PTZ controls. And then, I don't know, I just like the way the PTZOptics one's laid out. Maybe I use it more often. It's a smaller remote, but that obviously gives you a good idea of the remote controls there. Now I have side by side. Here's my Sony, here's my PTZOptics. We're going to look at them in more detail. In fact, let's go ahead and look at them in full screen here. So here's my Sony. So I'm just going to kind of cue this up, and I'm going to prove to everyone that I've done my best to get the best possible picture. So let's cue up so that we're like exactly the same here. There's my Sony, and here's my PTZOptics. I'll just move over just a hair, and let's go back and forth here. Sony, PTZOptics, Sony, PTZOptics. Now, how did I get to these images? Well, let's start with the Sony here. So, first of all, I did a white balance with a white sheet of paper, and then I went into exposure, and I'm doing it manually because that is usually the best possible way to get a good picture here. So, I went through here, and as you can see, I did the iris, the iris to almost as low as it goes there. So 5.8, 1.8, and 6 is really like the best because you want a wide iris as possible. And you can see I went through here and tried to find the best settings possible to show this off. I did a 1-push white balance, which is really nice. That allows you to put a white sheet of paper up, which I did, and do the white balance just right. Went through all of these settings. Now, you can see the noise reduction there. Keep that in mind because we're going to look at the PTZOptics noise reduction. Pan tilt zoom, I did think this was kind of cool. You can do limits for PTZ control, which the PTZOptics I don't believe can do. And then IR remote. So there is no way to flip this camera. There is no streaming port on this camera. And just to confirm all of that, I wanted to go over to the specs on bnhphoto.com for this camera and show you that it's the same size CMOS sensor, 12x optical zoom, 71-degree field of view. We're gonna look at the fields of view here. Shutter speed, maximum and minimum, very similar. But just HDMI. That's the big difference. You don't get HDSDI, you don't get USB 3, you don't get IP streaming. So that's just one of the things I wanted to show. So here's the Sony. Here's the PTZOptics. Now the settings are a little different. Let's go into the menu. There's more options on the PTZOptics side. So you can see we can do backlight, gain limiting, anti-flicker, which is really obviously important. Color here, just desaturate just a hair. Let's keep the saturation where it is. I like the hue where it is as well. Although the hue, being able to adjust a hue is really important, especially for green screens. Look how much greener the background becomes. So if you're using a green screen, that's a nice thing to play with. I'm going to go up on my luminance just a hair, because now I'm really getting close with the PTZOptics and Sony on settings here. Contrast, I didn't see that option. Sharpness was not an option. That's a nice option. Look how sharp we can get. Almost too sharp. Gets a little grainy. So we go back down. So sharpness options. Some of the things are not in the Sony. Left and right flip, vertical flip. You can't do that with the SRG-120. Crazy, right? PTZ control. This is a really nice feature. Speed by zoom. That means the farther you zoom in, the slower it will PTZ. That's very useful when you're using PTZ. 2D and 3D noise cancellation and noise reduction. And then this D hot pixel, something we'll talk about later this week. This week is all about different cameras, features, functionality, and the setup of them. So let's just go back and forth again. So PTZOptics 12X, Sony SRG-DH. PTZOptics has got a better image. I'll let you guys decide. I'd love to know in the comments below, and if there's anything in particular you want to see, let me know. Did we look at this? This is our side-by-side comparison here. The DH, the 120DH, there's the pricing there, the 12x optical zoom, the very similar field of view, the same maximum resolution, but the 12x USB Gen 2 has USB 3. They both have HDMI, but this has analog and IP streaming. You know, you guys can look all of this up. Better low light. I did not see wide dynamic range in the Sony. And I mean, we can look again, but it's not there. I didn't see anything about wide dynamic range. So I think we have to update that it does not have it. Push. Picture. System. Status. That's just the overall status. So it doesn't seem to have wide dynamic range. If we go over to our PTZOptics camera, and wide dynamic range is a extremely important feature here in the image, or no, it's in the where is that feature? Noise reduction. Where is it in exposure? Did I miss it? Okay, DRC, digital range control, otherwise known as wide dynamic range. Very important when you're shooting in a conference room or a boardroom that has like a backlit situation or something along those lines. So very cool stuff. Again, one of the things I wanted to look at here is, let's just go to ptzoptics.com. I want to show you our Friday webinar. So just go to our YouTube channel here. And this Friday it's all about the optics camera shootout. So anything you want to see, we're going to be shooting these cameras for sports. We're going to shoot them in low light, in conference spaces, and in production spaces to really get a good side-by-side footage of the Sony SRGs, the Vadio units, the RoboShot, the Clearview, and all the PTZOptics cameras. So that is pretty much our overview here. Here's my side-by-side again. You can see. Wah, 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 cha, cha, cha. That's the way they look. This is side-by-side test footage. I'm doing my best to do the absolute best review. Again, let's take a look at the cameras that we are reviewing here. The Sony SRG-120DH and the PTZOptics 12x USB Gen 2, or the 12x SDI Gen 2, which is even less expensive. Look at the backs of the units here. Let's scrub that over here. HDMI, RS-232, daisy chaining. The daisy chaining, I like that daisy chaining a lot, actually. They both have it. Really great cameras, but I think that the PTZOptics is shining. I can't forget to mention that the PTZOptics has a 3-year warranty. The Sony has just a 1-year warranty. Big, big differences here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. Let us know what you want to see on the Friday show in the comments below, because we need to know now, because we're going out to shoot test footage in sports, all those different places. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you on the next video, everybody.